Alright, what's up? I'm excited about today because I got a new training for you. How to improve your cadence so you can run faster and longer. And we're going to be using a training technique called 4-1s. So I'm going to be getting into that right away. But first, why do we want to improve our cadence? Well, think of it this way. What is our cadence? Our cadence is the amount of times our feet come in contact with the ground per minute when we're running. So often measured in SPM or steps per minute. But why do we want to improve our cadence? Well, think of it this way. Think of a square trying to roll. And if you get a square to roll, it's going to be super clunky. It's clunky and like just clunking along. Da-dunk, da-dunk, da-dunk. And a lot of new runners or average runners kind of run like a square, where you're seeing them clunk along, where they're bobbing up and down real slow as they're jogging or running. And they can even be running fast. Like, you can be a fast runner with a slow cadence, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good runner. Just because you're fast doesn't mean you're good. And on the other side of that, if you're slow doesn't mean you're bad. But the reason we want to improve our cadence is because think of like a 12-pointed star or a 20-pointed star or more rolling down next to a square. A star has a lot of points, and the more points of contact that it has as it's rolling, the smoother it's going to be. So picture that square rolling next to a star with a bunch of points. It's going to be relatively easier rolling. It's going to be like a as it goes, just you're going to see the head, just your head or the star's points just barely moving. So that's nice and smooth. When we're smooth, you're going to decrease injury, you're going to move faster, because also when we have more points of contact, we have more ways to propel ourselves forward. So instead of a slow cadence where we're going and every time our feet hit the ground, then we're moving forward, the faster our feet are moving, the more and the quicker we're moving ourselves forward. So that's why we run. We want to go faster ultimately, but we also want to run without getting tired. And by increasing our cadence, we are also going to be able to run longer without getting tired too, because it takes actually less effort once we get this dialed to run faster and longer with the same amount or less effort than a slow cadence. But before we go any further, I want to just introduce myself. If you're new to My Endurance Life, my name is Eric. I'm a USCO Ultra Running Certified Coach, and I love talking about running and helping other runners like you become better runners. So I encourage you to go to myendurancelife.com and download one of my free training guides. Run a half marathon or a 50K, whatever you want to do, there's a training guide on there for you. And then also you can check out my coaching services or join our Facebook group, where I go in the group and provide tips and do more free live training like this, but just in the Facebook group, so you won't be seeing it on YouTube. So check it out. Go to myendurancelife.com. My goal is to help you rethink possible, because I believe that you can go further than you ever imagined. And I believe that when you train with My Endurance Life, you will go further than you ever thought possible. So go ahead and pause this video right now. If you're new to My Endurance Life, go to my website, myendurancelife.com, and start your training and just rethink possible and reach your goals sooner and faster than you think. Okay. Now back in the training. So how do we increase our cadence? Well, we're going to be using 4-1s. So if you are new to My Endurance Life, a 4-1 is when we run for 4 minutes and then we walk for 1 minute. And the reason we do this is because not only is it a good training method to keep our heart rate down and stay in that zone 2 if you use heart rate training, or if you use rate of perceived effort like I encourage, it helps us stay in that easy rate of perceived effort, like a conversation pace, because we get a minute break every once in a while, or every 4 minutes. But on top of that, when we're getting that minute break, when we're walking for that 1 minute, we get to remember what we're doing. Running is more than running, especially when we're training for a goal, training for a race. We want to improve, we want to get better. And so when we use those 4 minutes to practice what we're out there to do, in this case improving our cadence. Then during those 4 minutes, that's what we're focused on. When we use that 1 minute break, we get to reset our mind, and maybe we got a little bit off towards the later end of that, and we slowed down a little bit with our cadence, or just we got interrupted or distracted, or we even forgot what we're doing. It's easy, it's easy to get sidetracked or just daydream when we're running and lose focus. So that 1 minute break is there to just reset and remind ourselves like, hey, I'm out here for a purpose right now. I'm trying to improve my cadence, and so when I start running again, I'm really going to focus on how quickly my feet are hitting the ground. And then I'm going to get into like how to really improve your cadence and the techniques and the strategies around that right now. So I just want to note before we get into this that it can take a couple weeks or a couple months to really get dialed. And everybody's cadence is going to be different depending on your height and your athletic capabilities. Just for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I like using these training videos as this worked for me, but if you want to learn more about what can work for you, I strongly recommend you go to my website and tap on the coaching and training tab where we can work together. But so for instance, I started out when I first wanted to really improve my cadence, when I started learning about cadence and how drastically it can improve your running and how it has improved my running, what I did is I went for a run and my watch measures my cadence. So if you have a way to measure your cadence, the easiest way to do it is using your watch or what other running monitor that you have. And I noticed that I was running at a cadence of 172 steps per minute. And so I knew I wanted to increase. And ballpark figure is 180 steps per minute. This is just a rule of thumb. We're a good guiding point of where we want to start. After I dialed in my cadence and I improved it to where it felt natural, to where I didn't have to run using the techniques I'm going to get to, that I dialed in my road running cadence to 184 steps per minute. That's just naturally where I fall into now. I'm 5'7". I consider myself an above average runner, even though I might not be as fast as some people would like to see if you can, are measuring strictly on speed, but I can run for hours and hours and hours on end with a high cadence because of these strategies that I'm going to be talking about. And I believe that a good runner is somebody who can run for a long, long time without getting tired, because they've made those improvements and they've taken the time and dedicated the time to themselves to become a good runner. So again, speed doesn't dictate how good of a runner you are. So I started out about a 170, 172, and now I am running at a 184. And then I also wanted to dig deeper, so I checked like the elite runners and people who are around my same height, because I wanted to see like what are these really like professional level athletes running at. And they were in the 190s to 192, 188. So elite runners are running with a high cadence. So how are we going to do this? Well, easiest way, and the way I recommend to start, is to download a metronome app on your phone. If you don't know what a metronome app is, what musicians use to keep track of time when they're playing music. And so back in the old days, it was this instrument that was like a clock, and it would go back and forth. And then they could set it at different intervals based on the timing for their music, and they would play along to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what a metronome is there for, to keep them on pace for the music they're playing. As runners, we can run in step using the metronome. So I recommend downloading it, plug it into your ears so people around you don't have to listen to it, and set it at 180 beats per minute. But remember what you were based on your data from your last run that you logged or you went back and checked. So whatever app that you use, I use Strava, you might use Map My Run or anything like that. Those apps, Garmin, they keep track of your cadence. So go back, check out your last run, and look at your cadence. You might surprise yourself. You might be around a 150, 155, or you might already be up there like around a 170 or 175. And the closer you are, the easier you're going to get to your optimum cadence. So, download the metronome app, turn it on, warm up, start walking for a minute, and then as soon as your timer hits 1 minute, start jogging at an easy conversation pace. Remember, a high cadence is not dictated by pace or speed. You can run a 14-minute mile or a 7-minute mile with the same cadence. So I really want to stress that. And I do that. On my ultra running, I'm not running the same pace as if I'm going to run a half marathon. My pace is a lot slower, say like a 12-minute mile. And so my 12-minute mile pace, my cadence is still the same. When I'm running my half marathon pace, an 8-minute mile or 7:30 mile, it's the same cadence. So I just want to really stress that your speed and your pace do not dictate what your cadence is going to be. So download the app, turn it on, start walking, warm up, and then as soon as you get to 1 minute, start jogging at a conversation pace at 180 steps per minute. It might feel really, really uncomfortable when you start. That's totally fine, especially if you're on the slower side starting out. If you're in that 160 range or 155, running at 180 steps per minute is going to feel really uncomfortable. So I only want to do this for the first 4 minutes. I recommend only doing this for the first 4 minutes. Okay, just so you know what 180 steps per minute sounds like. Now, when you take your next 1 minute break, reset your metronome to just 5 beats per minute above what your last cadence was from your last run. For example, if your last run was at 165 steps per minute, set your metronome now at 170 steps per minute, so just 5 above. And then you're going to do this for your next couple runs, but you're going to run for 4 minutes at 170 and then walk for a minute, and then run again at 170 steps per minute and then walk again. You're going to do this for 1 or 2 runs, however many times a week you run, and just do that until it feels natural to where you're running at 170 steps per minute without needing your metronome, to where it feels natural, to where you can just come right off your 1 minute walking break straight into 170 steps per minute. Then the next week or in your next couple runs, increase it to 175 and use that same strategy using 4 ones, running at 175 steps per minute, then walking, resetting, thinking to yourself, okay, I want to keep my form good. I want to, also pay attention to where my feet are landing underneath me, because with a higher cadence, it's going to help our foot strike. It's going to help where our feet are touching the ground underneath us, and just really increase our overall running capabilities. And then eventually get up to that 180 steps per minute, to where you can run at 180 without having to think about it. And then once you get there, you can start now downloading playlists. They make playlists at our 180 beats per minute, so you can run along to the music now and enjoy it. And then increase it from there with a metronome if you want to see if a 185 is better for you, or even 190 if you are at an elite capability. So have fun with it, enjoy it. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is one of the biggest improvements that I made to my running, that just not only helped me run faster and longer, but just made running a lot more enjoyable. And I also I found like my injuries, or just not injuries, but nagging, just the nagging aches and pains that come along with running, just practically vanished. My shins felt a lot better, my knees felt a lot better, because with a higher cadence, your form improves, everything improves. And then if you ever read the book Born to Run, if you didn't, download it. The audio version is super, super cool. Message me, I can send you the link for it if you can't find it, but check it out on Amazon or Audible. And in that book, when they're talking about how to get better at running, what they recommended was listening to the song Rock Lobster by the B-52s. And they had 2 reasons for this. One is at 180 beats per minute, so it's right at that, benchmark steps per minute to run with. But also the song is super catchy and it's easy to remember, because like I mentioned before, we get distracted when we're running, or we just start daydreaming and thinking about other stuff, or if we're listening to other music that just is a little bit slower. It's easy to come off that pace or off that cadence. So the Rock Lobster song by the B-52s is easy to remember. So if you feel yourself getting sloppy like in a later point of the race, just remember that song and catch that beat in your head and start running back in step with it. I've done this multiple times on my ultra running, my marathon running, even just my regular training runs. I can feel myself slowing down or just start feeling like I'm just not where I want to be, and I'll remember that song in my head, start running in pace to it, and boom, I'm right back on track and just running easy again, running fast again, and just enjoying it. So again, I encourage you to just improve this slowly over time. Like, again, it can take a couple weeks up to a couple months before you find your optimum cadence, and it might be a little bit higher or a little bit lower than that 180 benchmark. And if you like these training videos, I encourage you to visit my website where you can get access to more of these training videos before they get published on YouTube, and more access to more live training in our Facebook group. All of our coaching athletes, all my coaching athletes are a member of the Facebook group, and then also people who are just interested in getting better. It's a free Facebook group to join, or you can download one of the training guides. So check out myendurancelife.com, and I'm looking forward to you. And always remember, rethink possible, and I believe that you can go further with My Endurance Life.